everybody. Welcome to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. Do not forget that Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan83. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube. Simply look for Drew Duncan. And, of course, the Full Court Press is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. 32 teams, 32 days in the NFL, and the focus is the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that for the first time in 16 years will not have Marvin Lewis as their head coach. They go out and find one Zac Taylor, who is probably most remembered from a very short stint with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. You know, the Cincinnati Bengals are that conundrum, right? Every single year, we don't know what we're going to get from them. If we look at this roster, and we usually go from top to bottom, they're pretty good offensively, defensively. This season, though, I think is one of those few years where we could probably take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals and just go, you know, they're probably not going to be that good. They're probably going to win 5, maybe 6 games. They'll pull off maybe an upset somewhere, and that'll be about it. Now, look, Zac Taylor has a lot coming in behind him, all right? First of all, in 2 seasons with Jared Goff, well, basically a season and a half, they went to the 10th best ranked offense in the NFL, to the 2nd best ranked offense in the NFL. But even then, I give a lot of credit. As I've said 100 times over, that team, it goes as Todd Gurley goes, and I don't think it could have been more evident than it was in the Super Bowl. Offensively, this is already a football team that lost more than it gained. You could almost even say that defensively, right? No more Vontaze Burfict. You got Denard that's going to be put on the PUP list, physically unable to play. So already defensively, you're hurting. Offensively, you still have some of the guys. Giovanni Bernard, Joe Mixon, Andy Dalton. But is Andy Dalton going to be the Andy Dalton that gets 4,000 yards passing and, you know, doesn't throw a whole hell of a lot of interceptions? Or is he going to be the Andy Dalton that looks scared back there in the pocket, is really kind of unsure of himself? Which version of him are we really going to get? Not to mention A.J. Green already hurt. He's going to be out for an estimated 4 to 6 weeks, potentially longer. You had your probably best offensive lineman, and Clip Balling, he retired. Then your top draft pick at offensive line, Jonah Williams, he gets hurt. Then you get John Ross, wideout, hurt, which basically leaves you, by the way, with 2 very unknowns at wideout, and Cody Core and Josh Malone, who, by the way, between those 2 guys, 37 catches combined in their respective careers, which I think spans a total of 9-10 seasons, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you're going to be looking to your unknowns. Really, honestly, if I'm Cincinnati this year, yeah, I know that Joe Mixon said, oh, we can do what he did in L.A. Well, that's great. If you're going to do what he did in L.A., then you're going to be a running football team, and you're going to run a lot of screen passes, and these running backs are about to get a lot of work. You're going to have to slow the game down, control the clock, control the line of scrimmage, oppress the other team offensively, long, slow drives, keep the other team's offense off the field, and hopefully defensively keep that defense that just does not look that solid going into this season off the field, keep them rested, because the more that they're on the field, I think the less opportunities you're going to have to win. That is the one glimmer of hope that this football team has, especially in the division that they're in, when, again, you're going to face the Steelers twice, the Browns twice, the Ravens twice. The Ravens every single year are one of the top-tier defenses in the NFL. It seems like they've become a staple of what defenses are supposed to be. Lamar Jackson, like I said, I'm 75-25 on him. Then, of course, you've got to face Big Ben 2 times. The Cleveland Browns, the hype train, we're going to find out pretty quickly if that's real or not. I just don't see where there's a whole lot of opportunity to really make any big moves this season with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I don't say that very often about football teams. I really don't. I don't get to a place where I just look at a team and write them off. This is one of the few instances where you will actually hear me say this team's not going to be very good. Even though I basically alluded to that with the Arizona Cardinals, but I didn't say it this bluntly. I just look at this football team from top to bottom and I go, what do you really have there that's going to make sure that you can win even 9 games this season? If you looked at this team as an NCAA football team, right, with the design and setup that I would think that I alluded to a minute ago in order to win football games, you could be really good. But at the NFL level, I just don't think that the type of play calling that they'll need offensively is going to be all that sustainable. Look, Andy Dalton's got some wheels. He's a little underrated in terms of his scrambling capabilities, I believe. I think he could run some of that option. Maybe if they do some of the things like very similar to what he was doing when he was at TCU, right? And then eventually maybe you can stretch the defense a little bit once you suck them in enough with some of those screen plays and short slants and, taking your time to run the football up the middle and kind of give some, RPO looks at least to kind of draw in the defense and set them up for plays later on. You could potentially do that. But you're going to need some heavy sets. You're going to need some heavy sets, some heavy formations. And really what I would do is in any game that I play, if I begin to move the football at all down the field, right, I get a couple of big plays or a couple of plays, I get 6 yards and then 7 yards and I've got a first down, I'm going no huddle. I'm keeping that defensive look that they've got on the field right now on the field, and I am just mashing it down their throat. That's the way I'm trying to win football games if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, I love Zac Taylor. I grew up, my dad's a huge Nebraska fan. I loved watching Zac Taylor play. I felt he was very underappreciated as a quarterback. He didn't have a whole hell of a lot to work with while he was at Nebraska. But I will say this. He is a very good quarterbacks coach, and I think we will see Andy Dalton hopefully flourish under him, because the one thing that I can say about Andy Dalton is how many different coordinators and QB coaches has this guy had over his career. He's always got somebody doing something different, telling him something different. No, you got to do it like this. I mean, that gets difficult as a quarterback. Again, consistency is the biggest part to sustainability in this league. And I think Andy Dalton has been given chance after chance after chance. And I think, like Marvin Lewis, eventually people are going to say, enough is enough. It's time for us to move on. Guys, I am Drew Duncan, host of the Full Court Press. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan 83. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube. Simply look for Drew Duncan. And, of course, the Full Court Press is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And as always, don't you dare touch that dial.